As you can see, the Sunday Roundtable has assembled, and joining us this morning, Democratic political analyst Marianne Marsh, Republican political analyst Rob Gray. Great to see you guys. Happy Super Bowl Sunday. So let's start with Peter Durant. He was in the chair this morning. Durant and the Mass GOP. Is there a flicker of the two-party rule coming back to Beacon Hill, Marianne?
What, party of one to party of two? Is that where we've got?
Well, that's 100% improvement.
Yeah, I mean, they've picked up a seat or two, but we're going into a presidential year, and if the Massachusetts Democratic State Party is smart, they're going to flood the zone with a lot of Democratic candidates, including try to get back those seats.
Rob, what's your read on that?
I mean, unfortunately, Marianne's right on the numbers. It's 4 of 40 Republicans in the Senate. I think it's 24 out of 160 in the House. So Republicans are a long way away. But if you can, whack away at it a little bit, you can get to numbers where it at least matters what Republicans' opinions are. But Durant's a positive sign. We need more. Candidates can win if they run.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. President Biden and Democrats are in damage control mode after last week's special counsel report. No criminal charges recommended, but the report shows President Joe Biden willfully retained and disclosed highly classified materials when he was a private citizen. The report also described Biden as a forgetful old man confused about the dates of major events. And just hours after the report was released, Biden confused the presidents of Mexico and Egypt in a White House news conference. Marianne, let's start with you. How bad is this for the president?
You know who it's really bad for? The press. Because why? All you heard the last 24, 48, 72 hours is focusing on the gratuitous political hits on Joe Biden in a legal document that were inappropriate and shouldn't have been in there. It was almost as if it was 2016 again, with Donald Trump and the press doing the work for him. Bill Barr comes to mind. James Comey comes to mind. It's all that again. And by the way, he was found innocent. Another thing you don't hear at the top. But when you compare it to Donald Trump, who still has documents they're still looking for at Mar-a-Lago when tens of thousands of people parade through there.
Do you think that people viewed that news conference, though, and thought, this is not good?
I think the larger question here is the media. We are on the verge of losing our democracy. If Donald Trump goes back to the White House, that is what's going to happen. And I'm still waiting for that red wave everyone promised me.
But Marianne, the media, this was not out of context, the contents of this report. I mean, just this week, Biden thought Mitterrand was the president of France and Helmut Kohl was the chancellor of Germany.
And Trump forgot what state he was in.
So this stuff is accruing, and this is really a double whammy in this report. He was not found innocent. Okay, it's not as bad as Trump with the classified documents. Don't get me wrong. But they found that Biden had classified documents at 5 different locations, that he shared them with a ghostwriter.
They used the word willfully.
All they said is that he shouldn't be prosecuted.
Donald Trump is still hiding documents, and I assure you he has shared them with our enemies, including maybe the soldiers who were killed in Iran. Do you think those plans might have been there?
But here's the thing for Biden.
And Trump, if you've watched any of his rallies, he has no idea where he is either. This is a choice between democracy and a dictatorship. That's it.
I mean,
they're the guys.
If a report says from prosecutors who were appointed by your own attorney general that you couldn't remember when your term as vice president was, and then you hold a press conference at the White House to come out and push back on that and say, hey, I'm actually a crisp and clear older guy, and you confuse Mexico with Egypt, that's a political problem.
That was a hit job that didn't belong in any legal document by anybody, and everybody knows it.
The debate goes on. Let's shift it a little bit. Former President Donald Trump holds a wide lead over Nikki Haley in the Republican presidential race. Mixed results in the courtroom. Federal appeals court finding that the former president does not have immunity from prosecution on the January 6th case. He may have done a better job in the Supreme Court with the arguments over Colorado looking to ban him from the ballot. Spoiler alert, it looks like he will win that one if you read the tea leaves. Rob, is Trump's court campaign combo working?
I mean, sometimes I wonder, is this a presidential election or is this court TV that I'm watching? I mean, I'm starting to get confused. Generally speaking, the news is not good for Trump on these prosecutions. Is it already baked in and it's not going to hurt him? I probably think so. I mean, right now, I think if the election was held next week, that Trump would win. And it looks like he's going to be on the ballot because even the liberal justices, Brown Jackson and Kagan, indicated yesterday that they don't think that Colorado is right to disqualify him.
I think he might win the battle on the ballot access, but he might lose the war in the end. If Trump were to return to the White House and win the election in November, then I think the Supreme Court will take up whether he can serve under the 20th Amendment, and they may deny him that opportunity.
All right, Governor Maura Healey standing by her decision to nominate her former romantic partner to serve on the Supreme Judicial Court. Now, the governor says Judge Gabrielle Wolohojian is the most qualified person. The Mass GOP says it's highly inappropriate, and it's also been called an example of arrogance because of the supermajority Democrats hold. Rob, what's your take?
Well, first of all, I agree that she is very highly qualified for this position. I don't think there's any question about that. But I think if you gave elected Democrats in Massachusetts the true serum, they would tell you that they're shocked by this appointment and that it shows very bad judgment.
Senator Durant, Marianne, said he thinks this is unethical. What do you think?
Amy Carnival, Peter Durant, the Mass Republican Party think this is inappropriate. Yet they all support Donald Trump, who was found guilty of rape by a judge, who is now facing 91 felony counts, who's paying hundreds of millions of dollars to women he maligned and sexually assaulted. And he's trying to overthrow our democracy. I think that's inappropriate. So the hypocrisy is rank here, and shame on them for saying that. They support Donald Trump. That is far worse, number one. Number two,
you don't think Democrats think that this is problematic?
And number two, as a lawyer said to me this week about Gabrielle Wolohojian, she's overqualified for this position. She should be on the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court. But instead, when the Baker administration tried to recruit her to sit on the bench, she declined because she was in a relationship with Maura Healey at the time, who was Attorney General. That is no more. And yet, once again, the media focuses on the salacious and the personal and not the merits of the argument. That is shameful, but not quite as shameful as Republicans who say that and support Donald Trump.